And now here's part 2 of our episode. Dom, that incredible song. Why is that incredible song the standout track?
There are so many reasons. First off, it has a very sick, complicated beat. Like
Yes.
it feels simple and driven. Like when you really start to listen, you're like, oh wow, and it's repetitive, but it's driven. The lyrics, like just the chorus alone, is simple, but yet hopeful. You know, everything is everything. What's meant to be will be. After winter must come spring. Change, it comes eventually. Like, no matter what you're going on in life, like it's sort of meaningful, and it's spiritual, but without being abrasively spiritual. If that makes sense. And
100% does.
And just the rap in the middle is just, like I said, she has this sharp tongue, and it's great, and it's powerful, and it proves her like a powerful woman. And also, I think the song is so well written. Like, I feel like, you know, Aretha Franklin or Roberta Flack could have sung this song.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of that sort of classic but modern feel to it.
Well said. Well said. I'm gonna give you 400,000 more points for it strikes that balance. It's a really balanced song between universal, you know, like kind of universal relatable qualities and this like razor sharp clarity.
It actually is sort of the epitome of the entire album, you know?
Yeah. And this hits right before the final track, actually.
Yeah.
Well, the final listed track on the album, which we'll get to later. Also, killer music video. This had a killer music video where she's like walking down the streets of New York, but it's like a record that's scratching, and it was, I mean, there's some real 90s special effects happening there, but they were awesome.
I honestly don't remember the music video.
Oh wow,
it's great. You should watch it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you got to watch it after we're done recording. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned also like there's something kind of spiritual to this. Like, I mean, again, in the, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, I listened to this album quite a lot, but re-listening this past week, I was struck by how many songs on this album, like how much like religious, like how much like the themes, the images, like the iconography, like it keeps popping up over and over again. I mean, is that something that you were aware of like when you first got this album, or is it something you care about, or is it just sort of like, oh, that's kind of cool?
No, I don't think I was actually like 100% aware about it. I mean, okay, this is so lame. I can't believe I'm admitting this, but like, you know, the whole Matrix Zion reference, like I caught that right away, and I did some investigation into that. And so, you know, again, growing up Midwestern, Mexican, Catholic, I need a lot of exposure to other cultures. So in my younger days,
you're forgiven for that.
Yeah, in my younger days, that went a lot over my head. But like the older I got, the more like it really started to hit me, and the more I investigated it. But I don't think it changed how I feel about the album, if that makes sense. I think, if anything, it made me have more respect for her to bring sort of this to the mainstream.
Yes, there's probably something about the bold, like just the courage, you know, the courage to say something in this particular way that like makes it sort of, because I'm a very similar place, Catholic Midwest, sort of like there's a lot of it's a wash, like it washes over you, and you're thinking like there is something fundamentally other to my experience in this. But the fact that I'm still able to like find a little bit of myself in here is really means that it's a like kind of it's a document that has some staying power.
Yeah, and I feel that I feel that she knew what she was doing in making this album sort of feel universal and reach out to the masses. I don't think it was about money. I don't think it was about that. I think it's just that was her talent. That is her talent.
It's funny. We talk about artists sometimes that have these ambitions, right? These grand notions of their place in in the creative landscape. And, you know, I mentioned Prince earlier, and like Prince is somebody who, in researching it, obviously I think there was pressure for her to kind of like be like Prince, which is which is a fascinating thing because obviously if anybody with a brain knows that no one can be like Prince. There's just one Prince. But the thing that they were forgetting, I guess, is that nobody can really be like Lauryn Hill either. And she strikes the chord that I feel like is like essential to the creative impulse, right? Like it feels to me like anybody who wants to make something probably hopes that they can touch that source, and that as we get older, that we could sort of like figure out eventually that not everybody touches that source. You know, like I know I'll never touch the source in the way that Lauryn Hill does, but it doesn't feel exclusionary in a way, you know, like it feels still sort of like she has just this core of humanity that is necessary. And she's one of those touched people that can do that.
And then walk away.
Yeah.
Like that's
she didn't need to do more.
That's the amazing part, I think. Well, it's not the amazing part of Lauryn Hill. But like, I think that's one amazing aspect of this whole story is that like she did this album and then had people throwing offers at her, for like to do Dreamgirls and A
Star Is Born.
A Star Is Born, yeah. Now we see you know, Famous Woman who sort of like took that up. Like, I mean, I hate to make this comparison because it's not the same, but like you see that trajectory that like Beyonce went or is on. And like in a world, like in a different reality, like you could see that Lauryn Hill sort of like could have been on that track.
Huh.
I mean, I know. I mean, it's apples and oranges, right? But like
it is.
You know, Lauryn Hill was an actor, was a performer, and she went to the Fugees as a trio, Destiny's Child. And then solo career.
It's right there.
And then, you know, So, but, you know, I think that, and I don't know if we want to talk about like why she stopped after this album, but I think it's interesting that like, you know, if she, like you said, tapped into the source and then just sort of let this record into our lives and stepped away.
Well, let me put it back on you. Does that contribute to why this is perfect, or does it leave you wanting?
Well, I think it can be both things. I think, you know, you could want more from her. You can want more. I mean, we all want more. We're human. But I think that it is sort of like one of those great things. Like, this is all we have because this is all we need from her. It's not. I want more, but you know, I know she did. Yeah. She did briefly announce a 25th anniversary couple gigs for this, and they then immediately canceled both.
Which is so awesome. I love it.
It was like,
that's punk rock right there. That's what that is.
She teased us all. It was like, I'm going to do this. And I was like, no.
I feel like in some ways, I mean, her success, not that her success was her downfall. What do I mean by this? She had so much success and people threw offers at her, and it feels like she sort of just started speaking her mind after that, which, you know, as a Black woman in the late 90s, early 2000s, who was being heavily covered by the media, is of course not going to go well, because she's going to be portrayed as being like ungrateful or as complaining too much, when actually what she was essentially doing was pointing out like racism within the recording industry, sexism within the recording industry. And because she didn't play the game, because she saw that there was a game, and because she refused to do that, it just, you know, it got portrayed one way, and now I think we look at it a little bit differently. I will say, though, a lot of people still do. I mean, there are memes going around about her and concerts and whatnot that are, you know, unfair to her, and I think that, I don't know. I guess it sort of gets into the conversation we had earlier this season about Madonna, who is kind of doing a similar thing and was just, you know, starting her concerts a little bit late. And I don't know. Where do you come? I think now we're kind of venturing into the territory that before we started recording, you were alluding to, Dom, which is, you know, here we are all talking about like the presence of a Black woman in the recording industry. What place do we have to say anything like that? What's your sort of take on all this?
I mean, it's hard because, as you know, a cisgendered white presenting male, like, you know, what right do I have to say anything? But I think that experience has showed us that oftentimes it is the cisgendered white male that has caused the problem. And I think that a lot of this is, I believe that to be the case in the situation. You know, I think that, I mean, first off, remember she was in her mid-20s.
God, so young.
When she was like, she dropped out of school, like when the score came out because she was making too much money. Everybody wanted a piece of her. Everyone was throwing stuff at her, and yeah, she was speaking her mind because you're in your mid-20s and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see inequity and like, you know, you feel that you need to stand up and you feel you need to say something. And obviously her being a strong woman was a big part of who she is. And she got the label of, you know, I mean, I don't know if I can use this term, but angry black woman, you know, I think a lot, and like causing problems by starting concerts late. You know, when Madonna does it, we just sort of accept it. Like, oh, that's just Madonna. She's not going to go on until 11. It's fine. You know, show up 2 hours late and you'll be great. But I think that, you know, when you're Lauryn Hill, you have promoters saying this is unacceptable. But when you're Madonna, you have promoters saying, well, it's just Madonna. We're used to it. It's fine. And part of that might be Madonna's had a career that spans decades, and Lauryn Hill was in her mid-20s.
I wonder too how much of it is out of our view, right? Like either the people who were advising her, the people who she trusted, you know, because she's part of this, you know, music industrial complex where it's never, you know, it's never just the artist, right? It's never just the artist who is influencing these opinions about her. You know, we don't know who's not to get too tinfoil hat about it, right? But we don't know who's putting what to the media and for what reasons. You know, who is her Scooter Braun? Maybe there's maybe there is some kind of bad actors that weren't advocating for her, or just, you know, like maybe she, short of it being, you know, malicious, maybe she just didn't have enough people in her corner to like advocate for her, as popular and beloved as she is. You know, like it takes a village to keep these things going. It seems pretty clear to me.
And her village was actually quite stellar, even, you know, but also sort of the lineage of having like problematic issues. Like she married didn't marry. She was dating a Marley. And was also, you know, in collaboration with Bob Marley's wife. And I mean, that situation is also sort of like, how much were they influencing her career and her spirituality? And I feel like she just got tired of it all and was like, I don't need this. I have $80 billion right now because I'm 25 and I have 2 kids. I'm just going to keep doing that.
Can you imagine? God. Yeah, that's too much. Crazy money.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel she still lives in New Jersey.
By all accounts, it seems like she is used, you know, like the activism element we haven't talked enough about, I think is another thing here. Like it can't go overstated just how much it seems like it's been core to her forever. You know, even from that young age that she's, you know, it's an attempt to use the art, you know, in a way that is connected to something in the Marley tradition, right? In the tradition of any of the great activist artists. She's human like anybody else, and I feel like she seemed way more human than Prince. Prince seemed like an alien, right? Prince seemed like he was from another planet, but Lauryn Hill seems like undeniably one of us.
I agree completely. Like, well, maybe that he's an alien, but like a god. But I do think that Lauryn Hill is a demigod who like graced us with her presence on Earth.
So we asked you for a list of several albums that you considered perfect. We're curious to know now what makes an album perfect for you. What are your standards, and how did this album check off those boxes?
So I think that Time of My Life is one of the purposes. Like, when was I exposed to this album and how it may have changed or amplified what was going on. I think that this album came out, I was bartending, it was in the jukebox, I got it put on the jukebox, and it was one of those albums that like any song that came on like could create a good vibe in the bar. I think that having the over under of songs I want to hear like to be very, very little. Like I the majority of the album has to be something that I want to hear. There's gonna be no skips. I mean,
no skips. Gotcha.
It's definitely one. Doesn't have to be in the order that the album is played. Sometimes shuffle is okay.
Okay. Do you shuffle this album?
I don't actually. I play this album straight through. I play this album on vinyl.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. That was a hard find. and honestly, it has to be an artist I respect.
Respect. Well, say more about that. Is that related to the kind of moral fiber you're saying, or that kind of we've been talking about, or because this is actually, I don't know if many people have talked about that in those terms, like an artist that they respect.
Well, I think part of it is, because we work in the entertainment industry and we're involved in the entertainment industry, how artists work with other artists and other people in their field, and how they treat people, and how they treat the world around them. I have this is sort of like a non sequitur, a story. Like, I was never a really big Black Eyed Peas fan until I worked one of their concerts and rode an elevator with them. And
oh, really?
They were the greatest people. Like, they asked about school, they asked about us stuff. Like, and then I became the biggest Black Eyed Peas fan because they were nice to me.
Shit, I think you just made me a Black Eyed Peas fan. I love that.
Like, before I was like, they're whatever, they're fine, and they're like, no, they're awesome. They're great people. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have a few stories like that of people I've met that have been like the greatest, not the greatest, just like nice people. And I have some stories about people I don't like because of how they treated us.
I wanted to touch back on the student that you shared this album with. What was their name again? Juna. Hi, Juna. Hello to the youths. So I guess that kind of like the beautiful sharing of this album, which I think it's totally a worthy album to share with anyone and everyone, right? What do the youths seem? What does it seem like their perception of Lauryn Hill is these days? What's their idea of her stature and reputation?
It's funny because like she's classic to them.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it's new, they're like, "Oh, she's so old school." Like, it kind of, they see the amazement of her, but they're like, "Oh yeah, well, this is so 90s."
So 90s. Yeah, it is pretty 90s. It sounds like the 90s. Yeah.
But which is great because 90s are coming back. So
I think they might be back and gone. I think the early aughts are back
for a while now. Yeah, I think we're back to the aughts.
Oh, damn it. I gotta put my clothes back.
I know, dude. What's going on?
It's okay, Dom. We get to hold on to the 90s forever because we finally reached that age where we live in permanent nostalgia. So
yep.
We've
yes.
There it is. It's calcified. Isn't that what Jack Tamburi said? That our sensibilities have calcified?
I think so. Yeah, we just talked about Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream in the last episode, which
that is very 90s.
Which is 90s in a different way. I mean, actually, I will say this album doesn't seem 90s to me, if only because it just feels she was pulling from I guess maybe it is production-wise, but she's pulling from so many places. Like, I mean, I think the thing, again, we hate genre here, but like she's just pulling from so many different genres. I mean, there's a song that sounds like it could be a Motown song. There's songs that feel like they're just like leaning heavy into rap, like Lost Ones, like at the beginning. It just goes all over the place, and yet always feels like it's part of the same entity. And so in some ways, I'm going to say the word that I hate, but it does feel a little timeless to me in some ways.
I mean, it is. I don't think you have to say it seems. It is timeless. I think because it does pull from so many genres and so many times in history that it just sort of maintains.
Shoot, Dom, this was a good one, and a heck of an album to close out our 6th season. I don't know if I had even really thought about it as on that mythical list. Was it on your mythical list of albums you were waiting for, Michael?
Oh yeah, this is like I'm actually surprised that no one had nominated it thus far.
I hadn't really. Yeah. Okay.
Iconic. I mean, this was like I said, iconic. It was everywhere.
Totally.
For a good year or two. So
well, I'm glad. Another reason why I'm glad that you brought it. And you know what? The thing that you did is you built a very strong case. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that right now. But we'll go back through the points on the board just to double check, just to make sure that all of our sources are cited, so that when we do put the final decision to Michael to determine whether this one gets included in the Pantheon or not, we'll have all of our boxes checked. So there was 40,000 points for talking about how Everything is Everything is the epitome of this album. It sort of strikes the balance of all of the powers that she exhibits throughout the record, and it really just hits all the right notes. 4 million points before that for having gifted this album more than any other album, which I think is an amazing point in its favor for perfection, because I don't think anyone's brought that up, but I'm gonna remember that one. Add to that 1 million points for just her voice in all caps, being the core power of this. 5 million points for fighting the good fight as a designer during tech, because boy, is it thankless. But I'm glad that we have people like you out there doing it for us. 3 million points for replacing J-Lo with Radiohead in the jukebox at your bar job.
Yeah, you got a lot of credit for that, especially with us two here.
Yeah, you can have a triple multiplier on that one. We'll give you 9 million points for that. And we didn't even get into that full story, but I also want to mention that I wrote down Casey Kasem. I didn't give you points for it, but I just wrote down Casey Kasem. Because he's on the board. And then add all that to the 8.5 out of 10 that you gave me for the 60-second intro, and I would say this board is looking pretty strong. But it all comes down to Michael. Michael, tell us, how is Dom done? Did he do enough? Is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill a perfect album? Does it go to 11?
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're not gonna delay this one here. There is not a bad song on this album.
It's true.
Like, it's
no
just
clunkers.
All the way. I was even trying to. I was like, you know what? When I first got this album, I feel like I remember the final track, the title track, being a little like, oh, it felt like it didn't go as well. But listening to it this week, I'm like, no, that belongs there. Everything belongs here on this album. Yeah. So yeah, it may join the Pantheon. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So, Dom, around here, we've asked you to choose a standout track, but we ourselves also choose a standout track from the album.
Okay.
Are you curious to know what we chose? / would you like to try and guess what it is?
Oh,
you should guess. You should definitely guess.
Well, okay. So I want to guess that it's Everything is Everything, but I'm gonna say you did maybe To Zion.
It was on the list. It was on the list as a popular as you know. Tyler and I have. What else? What do you think it is?
Well, is it doo-wop? Not doo-wop. What's it called?
Yeah, doo-wop, that thing.
Yeah,
also on the list.
Also on the list.
Also on the list.
I made the final call on this one, and I went with "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went with a secret track.
Secret track. I didn't realize that it was a secret track. Again, showing my age, right? Because I've mostly been streaming this over the last several years.
Okay.
But this is. I had a couple reasons for this. Michael, I want you speak to it first.
My reason is I'm always thinking, okay, as the expert mix maker of the duo here, I like to think about what song we want to end an episode on, and not only this, but you're also our season finale. So I was like, we should end on something real punchy, like a real nice, like celebratory end to our very long season. Dom, it's been a very long season, and so that was kind of where I was going with. But ultimately, I mean, you know, every song is a standout on this. What were you thinking, Tyler?
I think it's great because it hits the neo soul is a nebulous term, right? It's sort of like and there's I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole reading about like some cultural criticism of the term itself and like how the genre has been handled in the ensuing years. But what's cool is that this is like that it brings in that doo-wop thing, right? It brings in that sort of like classic, that classic soul thing that I think is it's just the heart. It's the heart of this album, and it's such a pure love song that I felt like it was something that we wanted to end on the real positive light thing, like Michael mentioned. That, and also like its cultural significance just sort of like is is expansive, and she puts her own stamp on that, which I think is also a point in her particular power. So what do you think of this song?
I mean, I love this song. Wasn't it in a movie? It was in a movie.
Yes, it was in 10 Things I Hate About You, if you're if you remember that. But also
wait. Not Lauryn Hill's version.
Not Lauryn Hill's version, but okay.
But Lauryn Hill's version is in a movie. What movie is it, though?
Let me look it up.
It's first off, it's a great song, and
And it was like a great surprise too when you bought the album, because like, you know, the last track would play and then this comes on, and like, you know, often secret tracks are like, okay, whatever. Like, I mean, was All By Myself on Green Day's Dookie, you're kind of like, okay, haha, funny, that's cute. But like, this is a really good song, and it's not the only secret track on the album. There was another one after it.
I can't believe I forgot about Dookie's secret track. Until you just
oh my god, how could you forget about that? How could you forget the masturbation song?
I can't find it.
I swear it's on something.
It probably is.
No, hold on.
Oh, here it is. It was in the movie Conspiracy Theory.
That's it. Sandra Bullock
Richard
and
Donner.
Mel Gibson.
Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson.
Roberts, that's it.
Sorry. And Patrick Stewart. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's horrible. It's great.
It made a shitload of money. It's like that. That's crazy. Box office was different back then.
Yeah.
And it was Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts.
Julia Roberts played, oh my God, I'm going to tell you the whole movie now because it's all coming back to me. Julia Roberts plays a reporter, and Mel Gibson is like a crazy homeless guy. Maybe not homeless. He's a crazy guy who's obsessed with her. And it turns out that he has a government implant or something that he's being watched by he's actually being watched by the government, and he's part of this whole secret like assassin plot.
God. That's wild. Okay, we're gonna have to watch that one.
You do. If you're ever like so bored on a Saturday and it's on something, watch it. It's great.
Well, Dom, thank you so much for joining us on our season finale with an album that we were just waiting to cover at some point. And we are thankful you brought it to us. We are thankful for your conversation. We are thankful for the giant Pulp Fiction poster behind you. All of those things. It's been so great to talk with you. Even you know, it's been forever since we've like actually caught up or like said like, you know, I don't even know. I know you have a dog. I know you have a house. I know like all those things, but like I don't know as much. So like we'll have to catch up. I might be back in the Philly area at some point. You never know.
Well, it'll be exciting. Yeah, totally. We should a whole Flashpoint reunion.
Oh my God!
Don't tempt us with a good time, Dom.
Yeah,
I would love that. I would love to be a like I'd love to be at the Flashpoint reunion, because now I feel like I've met so many of you that I'm like, oh man, it's worlds colliding for real. Yeah, this was a treat, Dom. Thank you for this.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me and for listening to this album with me.
The gratitude is all ours. And thanks to everybody out there who's joined us for a real marathon of a season, literally and figuratively for me. And it's been, I'll save the sappy stuff for the end of the year, but I friggin' love doing this with you, Michael. And I guess I got a little sappy, but you know, but thanks for sticking with us, and we can't wait to do more stuff with you. We love talking about music with you, and we hope you'll keep going on this journey with us.
Yeah, and there might be some surprises waiting for you this summer, but for the most part, Tyler and I we're gonna take a little break,
just for a bit.
Yeah,
take a beat.
Yeah, so maybe you all should go listen to some Lauryn Hill, and we'll see you sometime in the future, I guess.
Bye.